Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Jonathan Freedman. Our next guest in the studio is Michael Hill, CEO and co-founder of Well-Groomed Pets. Welcome, Mike.
Good morning. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Good. Thanks for being on the show. I know you're out in Southern California, and wish you guys all the best. Hope that this devastating stuff gets behind you soon enough. Tell us a little bit about your company. I know you fabulous service for, as they say, man and family's best friend.
Yeah. So it's called the Well Groomed franchise system. Our brand name is Well Groomed Pets or Well Groomed. You'll see that on stores opening up around the country. And it's a franchise, but it's a combination of grooming with a very focused core mission on wellness. So not just making dogs look great, but also ensuring that they're feeling well and being an advocate for pet families. And maybe we get some time. I'll share with you the why behind how this whole thing started.
Yeah, no, that would be really fascinating to hear it. I mean, the story of entrepreneurship is usually about personal experiences or things that people have gone through. But so tell us a little bit more about the concept because I understand it's grooming, but you're also trying to pick up on various cues that animals give off and or physical symptoms or traits. I know that in our own family, I'm constantly trying to interpret why is his nose dry? Why is it, and like being a parent of babies and children, sometimes you just let a little time pass because I'll tell you, if I went to the vet every single time something was going on with my dog, I'd probably not be able to afford my home.
Yeah,
Um,
Jonathan, the dogs have become they're not man's best friend, right? They're family now. People treat them like family. And I'm sure you've been in coffee shops or in airports or whatever. You see people treating their dogs very differently. And some people say, wow, that's kind of crazy. But that is the trend. They're actually putting off having children. Young people are putting off having children and spending more money and time with their dogs. And so when we looked at the pet industry, by the way, this wasn't just about where's our differentiator in the market. That's important for us, but it's also just really good business for us as we thought about how do we diversify revenue streams. So the problem that we're trying to solve isn't just a revenue problem. It's really more about loyalty and scalability and how do you build trust with a client that lasts a long time. Well, dogs live, 10, 15 years. Chihuahuas are the longest. They live like 17 years. So what we did was we looked at the pet industry and we saw this very fragmented industry, dog grooming. And dog grooming, by the way, has been around for 2,000 years. Modern dog grooming has been around for 50 years. There's largely been very little innovation that's happened in the space because it's not like you can build a machine to accelerate productivity, although there are some machines. This is a canvas that's constantly moving and will nip and bite and have anxiety. And there's a lot of things that happen. And so how do you lean in and how do you create value in this kind of industry? I worked in dentistry. By the way, my background, I was in dentistry for 24 years. My first entrepreneurial start was with the dot-com way back in the day. I had a couple of exits. And also I'm an angel investor and not always successful for sure. So when we looked at the dog grooming space, dentistry was very with a high fragmentation. And so in my industry, in dentistry, we had 12,000 competitors, and I was in that for 24 years. Dog grooming has 130,000 competitors,
wow.
and most of them are independently owned and operated. So you don't see a lot of groomers with 2 or 3 or 5 salons. They have one salon, they work, they are the labor, they are the production, and they do the whole thing. So we looked at it and we said, well, how do we scale that? And scalability comes with a lot of opportunities. It comes with typically technology. So if you look at like the ophthalmology space or optometry, you saw labs form up where glasses in an hour and they popped up in salons. And technology was the driver of the scaling of that industry and the roll up that occurred. In dentistry, we started making teeth using machines, using CAD CAM. So you would design a tooth on a digital screen and then print it out of ceramics on another machine. And so you could accelerate the labor part of producing teeth. Well, it's a little different in the dog grooming world, but I was looking for that. And I was looking for high fragmentation. And then what could we bring forward? Now, what inspired me to get into this was very different. And I'll mention that in a second. But so wellness became a big important part of that. Dogs have one of the highest occurrence of cancer of all mammals on the planet. Golden retrievers are number one. Like 60
Hmm.
something percent of golden retrievers will die because of cancer related illness. Cats are number one. Humans are down the chain a little bit. Actually, we talk about cancer in humans, but animals are getting it much more frequently. A lot of reasons why.
And I would also think that the acceleration is much quicker given their lifespan, right? It comes on
Exactly. And
and it
so
accelerates quickly.
yeah, and so the good news there is you can actually, if you start to innovate around that, you can start to see the impact of your efforts pretty quickly because dogs, that's why we use mice, right? When we're doing a lot of pharmaceutical
Mhm.
testing, it's because we can see things happening quicker. So yeah, that's a really good point. Well, so we looked at the space and said, okay, how do we improve on this? And really, what is the value of the dog groomers? And dog groomers are largely in the pet industry traditionally they're kind of relegated to a lower level. They're in the back, they work with the animals, and in the front, you might have, for example, veterinarians often do dog grooming, a lot of education, very smart people, really delivering healthcare. But as it turns out, groomers touch dogs more frequently and for a longer period of time than anyone else in the pet industry outside of the pet parent. A typical visit with a dog is about 2 hours, and we are hands on for 2 hours, which gives us a really unique opportunity. And we see these dogs about every 42 days. Veterinarians, they see them about every 650 days, and they're typically 15-minute appointments. That's just the way that the industry has kind of evolved. And so, if we lean in, dog groomers actually could become a really important advocates for seeing changes in an animal's overall wellness. And so that's what we built our brand on was let's partner with pet parents. Let's do really great dog grooming because this is like we didn't invent dog grooming. It's been around for, as I mentioned, and there's a whole lot of them. So demand is high and all of the pet industry markers were moving in the right direction. COVID, we had massive adoptions of animals. All the shelters were emptied. All the rescues were emptied and breeders went bananas. And but so there's a lot of dogs out there, about 90 something million now living in U.S. households.
Wow.
But all they do is dog grooming. And so if we can pay attention to wellness, all of a sudden new revenue streams open up. We get longer time with our clients and we build loyalty and customer retention. And so we built our brand on that model.
So tell us a little bit of more about the specific execution. So obviously, you've got to train your people differently. They're looking for various cues, and then are you bridging a gap towards a vet ultimately if you sense that something is going on? I mean, how does that process work? Because it would seem to
Yeah.
me that obviously veterinarians go through a lot of training, a lot of certifications, etc. Where do you see or how do you bridge that, between I suspect there may be something and how do you verify?
Yeah. And if I were offering advice with just a ton of humility here to folks who are listening to your podcast, you start by thinking about who else shares your customer who's not a competitor, because those become your partners as you begin to launch new initiatives. They're already in the space and you can be a supporter of that. And that's what we did. So we looked for partners who were in the space. What we checked, so our protocol is it's a 50-point wellness protocol. It's actually a little more than 50 points. And then it's categorized by physical wellness, behavioral wellness, or what we call, things like anxiety and aggressiveness changes in behavior since the last time we saw them, or just from our conversations with the pet parents, Turbo's, you pull him on the leash all the time. I spent all this money on dog training. He's pulling on the leash all the time, or maybe he's barking more or itching more. There may be some things that are happening. Energy might be changing. We do physiological, so we weigh the dogs, and we're working on some other technology now to do a little bit more with the physiological aspect of the animals because there's a lot of insights that can be demonstrated. And Jonathan, it's like if you saw me today, and then we caught up in Boston in a year and a half, and you look at me and go, Mike, you've gained some weight. What's going on? But I'm looking at myself going, what? I'm the same guy. I didn't notice the changes that were happening,
Right.
and that's what happens with pet parents. They don't
With pets.
actually see the changes.
So I'd imagine a big part of your process is data capture and data points and comparing, so to speak, longitudinally what they look like over time and
Yeah.
being able to evaluate and perhaps offer up, observations, essentially.
Well, yeah, it starts there, right? So we capture all the data and then we track all the data, and then we built technology that flags changes in data, and that becomes the notifications. And some of that is automated through messaging, but more importantly, it's made available to our team so that we can have intentional conversations with pet parents. And then just sort of, just from a business intelligence perspective, what we look for are, where are the high propensity, where the change is happening at a high level, because that's where we're going to focus and make our investments to try to bring resources and solutions to pet parents. I'll give you an example, and I'll share this with your audience. It's a little bit proprietary, but I'll share it. One of the top wellness issues that we see in terms of changes that are happening with dogs is dental related. And so, if in fact, it's about 60% of the dogs that we see. So 40-something% of the dogs that we see every single time they come in have 2.5 wellness issues that we're identifying, tracking, and seeing changes with. What we flag are the changes. That's where if you brought a dog in that was 17 years old and it was frail and whatever, that dog would just have a baseline with us. The next time they come in, if we see a decline, then we bring that to the attention of the pet parent. Hey, we noticed this. And we're looking at things physically. We're looking at things like wounds that don't heal, bumps that are growing, like we measure with digital calipers from my old dental days. We measure all the bumps and lesions, we map it on our software, and then the next time they come in, we do it again. Sometimes it's just a bug bite, but sometimes it's a cancerous growth, and if we can get in front of that, that can be helpful. So yeah, so we capture a lot of data, about 15,000 data points per month per salon, and all of it is kind of geared to when did something change, and then we bring that to the attention. And then from there, we advocate to the partners. Hey, if you've got behavioral changes, let's get you in touch with a really great trainer in this local community that can help you with that. If you've got lump growth, if you don't have a vet, we've got vet partners, and we'll introduce you to that, and we'll just drive them in. And hopefully those partners then refer dogs back to us for grooming.
Fantastic. So is it a fee for service model? Is it a membership model? How does the business model work?
Yeah, it's fee for service, and there are some really great membership models out there and subscriptions. We've chosen not to go that route. Things like membership fatigue and subscription fatigue, and I'm always deleting things that I signed up for later. So we just felt like, hey, meet the dogs where they are, meet the pet parents where they are. When they have a need, come on in. Let's be the friendly community dog groomer. And that's kind of been our focus.
And the emphasis around the franchise model is to bring existing grooming salons into the fold, or is it to look for new opportunities, people that want to venture into the pet care industry?
Yeah, well,
it's
it's both. So the two questions there. One, our business model. Our business model is let's get franchises in all the major trending pet markets. We've identified about 300, and that's where we're really focused. We will pick up, people find out about us, and they want to bring it into the local community. And if the demographics work, we'll let that happen. But we are focused on the main hubs, where you're seeing really strong pet growth. Atlanta, Denver, Phoenix, some of these markets. And we are in some of those markets now. So that's the first thing is expansion. And then expansion with purpose, and that is data. And then with data becomes the more data we have, the more opportunity for us to diversify revenue and make these grooming salons not just about dog grooming, but really kind of a community hub for canine wellness. We've identified about 9 revenue streams, and we've begun to execute on 4 or 5 of them. So we have some work to do here.
Fantastic. Michael Hill, CEO and co-founder of Well Groomed Pets. If people want to learn more about the company, perhaps franchising opportunities as a franchisee, and or learn about your salons, visit your salons, what's the best way for them to do so?
I appreciate that opportunity as well. So we're just at Well Groomed Opportunities for franchising.com. But if you've got a dog and you just want to come in for an experience, wellgroomedpets.com, and you can connect with one of our local stores.
Fantastic. A real pleasure having you on, and I'd like to hear in the future as your business evolves, and wish you continued success, and please stay safe out there in Southern California.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much, Jonathan. Great program. A great service you guys are providing. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Excellent. And we'll be right back with another segment on Radio Entrepreneurs.